Hello there. How are you all? Hello, Marion and Ali and Margot and uh, ooh, I can't remember who else was there. Sharon, I think Sharon was here. Margot, you might be new. If you are, welcome. I've not seen your name before, but that doesn't mean anything. I only see the looking at part of the camera just before I sit down, so the better part of the camera points at me, so that you can see me as I read, because that's what we do on Fireside Reading. We read old books together in front of the fire. And currently we're reading The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. I'm having a grand old time, and I hope you are too. We just read they're on a fishing trip, Bill and Jake, and we just put the wine in the spring to chill for after fishing. Let's find out how they got along with the fishing. Welcome to a fireside reading of The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway, Chapter 12, Part 2. I got my rod that was leaning against the tree, took the bait can and landing net, and walked out onto the dam. It was built to provide a head of water for driving logs. The gate was up, and I sat on one of the squared timbers and watched the smooth apron of water before the river tumbled into the falls. In the white water at the foot of the dam it was deep. As I baited up, a trout shot up out of the white water into the falls and was carried down. Before I could finish baiting, another trout jumped at the falls, making the same lovely arc and disappearing into the water that was thundering down. I put on a good-sized sinker and dropped into the white water close to the edge of the timbers of the dam. I did not feel the first trout strike. When I started to pull up, I felt that I had one and brought him, fighting and bending the rod almost double, out of the boiling water at the foot of the falls, and swung him up and onto the dam. He was a good trout, and I banged his head against the timber so that he quivered out straight, and then slipped him into my bag. While I had him on, several trout had jumped at the falls. As soon as I baited up and dropped in again, I hooked another and brought him in the same way. In a little while, I had 6. They were all about the same size. I laid them out side by side, all their heads pointing the same way, and looked at them. They were beautifully colored and firm and hard from the cold water. It was a hot day, so I slit them all and shucked out the insides, gills and all, and tossed them over across the river. I took the trout ashore, washed them in the cold, smoothly heavy water above the dam, and then picked some ferns and packed them all in the bag. 3 trout on a layer of ferns, then another layer of ferns, then 3 more trout, and then covered them with ferns. They looked nice in the ferns, and now the bag was bulky, and I put it in the shade of the tree. It was very hot on the dam, so I put my worm can in the shade with the bag and got a book out of the pack and settled down under the tree to read until Bill should come up for lunch. It was a little past noon, and there was not much shade, but I sat against the trunk of 2 of the trees that grew together and read. The book was something by A.E.W. Mason, and I was reading a wonderful story about a man who had been frozen in the Alps and then fallen into a glacier and disappeared, and his bride was going to wait 24 years exactly for his body to come out on the moraine, while her true love waited too, and they were still waiting when Bill came up. "Get any?" he asked. He had his rod and his bag and his net all in one hand, and he was sweating. I hadn't heard him come up because of the noise of the dam. "6. What did you get?" Bill sat down, opened up his bag, laid a big trout on the grass. He took out 3 more, each one a little bigger than the last, and laid them side by side in the shade from the tree. His face was sweaty and happy. "How are yours?" "Smaller." "Let's see them." "They're packed." "How big are they really?" "They're all about the size of your smallest." "You're not holding out on me?" "I wish I were." "Get them all on worms?" "Yes." "You lazy bum." Hang on, just have to do that. Bill put the trout in the bag and started for the river, swinging the open bag. He was wet from the waist down, and I knew he must have been wading the stream. I walked up the road and got out the 2 bottles of wine. They were cold. Moisture beaded on the bottles as I walked back to the trees. I spread the lunch on a newspaper and uncorked one of the bottles and leaned the other against a tree. Bill came up, drying his hands, his bag plump with ferns. "Let's see that bottle," he said. He pulled the cork and tipped up the bottle and drank. "Phew! That makes my eyes ache." "Let's try it." The wine was icy cold and tasted faintly rusty. "That's not such filthy wine," Bill said. "The cold helps it," I said. We unwrapped the little parcels of lunch. "Chicken. There's hard-boiled eggs. Find any salt?" "First the egg," said Bill, "then the chicken. Even Brian could see that." "He's dead. I read it in a paper yesterday." "No, not really." "Yes, Brian's dead." Bill laid down the egg he was peeling. "Gentlemen," he said, and unwrapped a drumstick from a piece of newspaper, "I reverse the order, for Brian's sake, as a tribute to the great commoner. First the chicken, then the egg." Wonder what day God created the chicken. "Oh," said Bill, sucking the drumstick, "how should we know? We should not question. Our stay on earth is not for long. Let us rejoice and believe and give thanks." "Eat an egg." Bill gestured with the drumstick in one hand and the bottle of wine in the other. "Let us rejoice in our blessings. Let us utilize the fowls of the air. Let us utilize the product of the vine. Will you utilize a little, brother?" "After you, brother." Bill took a long drink. "Utilize a little, brother." He handed me the bottle. "Let us not doubt, brother. Let us not pry into the holy mysteries of the hen coop with simian fingers. Let us accept on faith and simply say, I want you to join with me in saying, what shall we say, brother?" He pointed the drumstick at me and went on, "Let me tell you, we will say, and I for one am proud to say, and I want you to say with me on your knees, brother, let no man be ashamed to kneel here in the great out of doors. Remember, the woods were God's first temples. Let us kneel and say, don't eat that, lady. That's Mencken." "Here," I said, "utilize a little of this." We uncorked the other bottle. "What's the matter?" I said. "Didn't you like Brian?" "I loved Brian," said Bill. "We were like brothers." "Where did you know him?" "He and Mencken and I all went to Holy Cross together." "And Frankie Fritch?" "It's a lie. Frankie Fritch went to Fordham." "Well," I said, "I went to Loyola with Bishop Manning." "It's a lie," Bill said. "I went to Loyola with Bishop Manning myself." "You're cockeyed," I said. "On wine?" "Why not?" "It's the humidity," Bill said. "They ought to take this damn humidity away." "Have another shot." "Is this all we've got?" "Only the 2 bottles. "Do you know what you are?" Bill looked at the bottle affectionately. "No," I said. "You're in the pay of the Anti-Saloon League." "I went to Notre Dame with Wayne B. Wheeler." "It's a lie," said Bill. "I went to Austin Business College with Wayne B. Wheeler. He was class president." Well, I said, the saloon must go. You're right there, old classmate, Bill said. The saloon must go, and I will take it with me. You're cockeyed. On wine? On wine. Well, maybe I am. Want to take a nap? All right. We lay with our heads in the shade and looked up into the trees. You asleep? No, said Bill. I was thinking. I shut my eyes. It felt good lying on the ground. Say, Bill said, what about this Brett business? What about it? Were you ever in love with her? Sure. For how long? Off and on for a hell of a long time. Oh, hell, Bill said. I'm sorry, fella. It's all right, I said. I don't give a damn anymore. Really? Really. Only I'd a hell of a lot rather not talk about it. You aren't sore I asked you. Why the hell should I be? I'm going to sleep, Bill said. He put a newspaper over his face. Listen, Jake, he said, are you really a Catholic? Technically. What does that mean? I don't know. All right, I'll go to sleep now, he said. Don't keep me awake by talking so much. I went to sleep too. When I woke up, Bill was packing the rucksack. It was late in the afternoon, and the shadow from the trees was long and went out over the dam. I was stiff from sleeping on the ground. What did you do? Wake up? Bill asked. Why didn't you spend the night? I stretched and rubbed my eyes. I had a lovely dream, Bill said. I don't remember what it was about, but it was a lovely dream. I don't think I had dreamt. You ought to dream, Bill said. All our biggest businessmen have been dreamers. Look at Ford, look at President Coolidge, look at Rockefeller, look at Joe Davidson. I disjointed my rod and bills and packed them in the rod case. I put the reels in the tackle bag. Bill had packed the rucksack, and we put one of the trout bags in. I carried the other. Well, said Bill, have we got everything? The worms. Your worms, put them in there. He had the pack on his back, and I put the worm cans in one of the outside flap pockets. You got everything now? I looked around on the grass at the foot of the elm trees. Yes. We started up the road into the woods. It was a long walk home to Borghete, and it was dark when we came down across the fields to the road, and along the road between the houses of the town, their windows lighted, to the inn. We stayed 5 days at Borghete and had good fishing. The nights were cold and the days were hot, and there was even a breeze in the heat of the day. It was hot enough so that it felt good to wade in a cold stream, and the sun dried you when you came out and sat on the bank. We found a stream with a pool deep enough to swim in. In the evenings we played three-handed bridge with an Englishman named Harris, who had walked over from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port and was stopping at the inn for the fishing. He was very pleasant, and went with us twice to the Irati River. There was no word from Robert Cohen, nor from Brett and Mike. Thank you all for joining me. Another chapter, I think it's actually a half chapter, tomorrow at the same time and place, 5 Pacific at Fireside Reading on Instagram. I'm so glad you found this. Please stay around. We'll choose another book when we finish this in, I think it's about 10 more days. And if you have suggestions, please send them to me at firesidereadingwithgildart@gmail.com. They have to be in the public domain. I have a few of prior suggestions, and I'm going to look through and see what we'll do next. But until tomorrow, I do hope you all stay very, very well.